You're listening to episode 3 of the Wheeler's Dog Podcast. Hello again, my name is Eugene Sims, and thank you for joining the Wheeler's Dog Podcast. I do appreciate it, and I am totally overwhelmed with all the attention that I'm getting on the Facebook page, all the views on YouTube. I'm really shocked. I didn't think that it would really take off like it has, and I do appreciate you listening, checking it out, giving the Facebook page a little love, and don't forget to follow on Twitter at Wheeler's Dog. I also have that going on as well. And Tim and I'm talking about Tim Beeman of the Less Desirables and the Less Desirables Network, the podfather of Winston-Salem. He and I have been working on getting this more to the masses, and what I'm talking about is Spotify. I'm talking about, wherever you get podcasts. So if you listen on Spotify, boom, you get it there. You would get it on TuneIn. I forget, again, what they call the Apple Music thing now. Apple Listen, I don't know. Apple Podcasts, I don't know what they call it. Those people at Apple just can't seem to settle on one thing. They're always changing. Don't like them. No. Not an eye hole at all. That's what I like to call Apple users that, really just pontificate about Apple products. They're eye holes. Yeah. That's trademark. I own it, so don't be using it. Hold on, let me get a sip of water here. Water, something I've really taken to lately. See, we've got municipal water here in Davidson County. It's yes, everybody in the county has water. There's water. I think there's sewer too. I'm not sure. I know that we've got one of those, septic tanks, but. We have water, and I try to drink more water, but to be honest with you, it just doesn't taste good. And I think that more people would drink water if it tasted better. So then I started buying these jugs of purified water and spring water. Not the distilled water. It takes out all the vitamins and minerals, whatever's in there. That's what I've heard. But I have noticed that there's certain benefits from drinking all this water. I'm up to 8 glasses a day, 8 12-ounce glasses a day. I try to get, and I found out that my blood pressure's gone down. I found out that my heart rate has, dropped at least 10 beats per minute in the normal, setting. So water's really doing good. So I'm sticking with it. I like it. I just get one of those 2.5 gallon jugs, put it in the fridge, let that joker chill, and there you go. Water that actually has no flavor. So I guess that tastes good. It tastes a lot better than that county water that we've got here in Davidson County. But anyway, let me talk about one of the things that's been bothering me lately, and it's job related. It's nothing about where I work that's irritating me. It's how I get the work done in the settings that I'm around. So let's put it this way. I transfer trucks to and from places, from one place to the shop, from the shop to another place. That's what I do. And one of the things that is nice about it, you get into a newer truck, and there's an auxiliary input. You know what I'm talking about? You can take that little wire, you can put that joker right in there, and whatever you listen to on your phone, whether it's podcasts, whether it's Spotify, whether it's your tunes that you've got downloaded, there you go. You've got it. And you can play it and take it anywhere with you as long as you've got unlimited data. It works out pretty good. So I like to listen. It was Spotify at first when I started, but then I started listening more to more podcasts, listening to the Less Desirables with Tim, the Beer Dads, and also listening to the West Virginia Surf Report podcast, which, thanks again, Jeff K., for all the help that you've put me through as well, as Mr. Beeman. But most of the time it was, my Spotify playlists. And, I'd have music that I wanted to listen to. You know why? Because the radio gets on my nerves. I don't understand how people listen to over-the-air radio all the time. I see them do it. I don't get it. As a matter of fact, my father-in-law's got this friend of his, and we were all sitting around in his basement, which is really the garage. It was a nice spring day. It was last year, and we're all just looking out, and the traffic's going by, and, them being bikers, they're waving at bikers that know them as they bike on by. And, we're having a few adult beverages, that sort of thing, passing around a bottle. And, this friend was in charge of the radio. Oh, it was driving me insane. Because they'd listen to one song, they wouldn't even get to, like, the instrumental part of the song, or sometimes not even the second chorus, and they change the station. That drives me batty, especially people that, when I'm driving, I'm in control of the radio. But when other people are driving, I adhere to that rule too. They should be able to listen to whatever they want. But if it's their car and I'm driving, well, they can listen to whatever they want. But generally, I think the driver should choose the tunes. You got to keep the driver happy, or else they'll see a telephone pole or some sort of embankment and you're out. That's how it goes sometimes. They might get a little irritated with you. Especially these people that hit the scan button and just go. I used to date this girl that was constantly, oh, I don't like that, pap. Oh, I don't like that, pap. Oh, there's a commercial, pap. It just never settling on something. So I don't understand why people listen to radio. I mean, if it's in background noise and you're working and stuff, I guess I can kind of get it. But even that drives me insane. Like the time that I worked for Capitol Records. They used to have a big distribution warehouse in Greensboro. And you worked in there, and every day it'd be, they'd have the radio on, but they'd have it on different stations. They took like a poll of, what people wanted to hear. And of course, when I told them WQFS, I was the only one voting for it. So it's, nobody really steps outside or goes to the left of the dial. But, I like hearing new things. But the thing is with radio, especially, oh man, 102 Jams used to drive me insane. It's like every 2 hours you'd hear the same song. And it would just, I couldn't, it would irritate the hell out of me. And then there was this guy named Buster Brown that was the jock, and he had this laugh. It was just so irritating. And every time I heard it, I just wanted to strangle somebody. Anyone, any warm body that was next to me, I just wanted to reach over and just strangle them. But thankfully I worked in a warehouse, and most of the time I was out on a lift truck picking, John Lennon CDs to send out to Around the World, or maybe Janet Jackson, or Steve Miller Band, stuff like that. Or, at that time, Technotronic. Yeah, this tells you about the time I was working there. But I hear the same stuff over and over again. And I've worked in radio. I know, it's odd. I work in radio. I still work with WTOB in Winston-Salem. I listen to it occasionally. Not a whole lot. Because I like listening to things that lots of times I haven't heard before. I'm constantly on the search for new music that I haven't heard, new stuff that's coming out, because I don't want to be one of these guys like, well, nobody makes any good music anymore. The hell they don't. New music, new great music is being made every day. It's just nobody takes the time to listen for it. You're just expected that it should pop up and slap you in the face. No. You got to search it out. Check out websites and stuff that list new releases and look at the album covers. See if they give you any interest. Get a brief description of the band. Go to Spotify and check out, what is it about this band? All you got to do is click on their name and see about. and then you can, check out some of their stuff. It's that easy, and that's the thing that really bugs me about radio. Like one of the stations I used to work for, I'm not going to mention any names. I still listen to their morning show. Absolutely love the morning show. I've listened to it from day one, if that's a hint to you. And I listen to them. I listen to their kind of best of hour afterwards, after they're off the air. And then after that, boom, I am Spotifying, I'm podcasting, I'm doing something else. Why? Because I don't need to hear Green River another time. I'm good. If it pops up on my stuff, that's okay, because it may be on the Big House Mix on my Spotify playlist. That's fine. That doesn't really bother me so much. But when it's followed up by, I don't know, something like Here I Go Again, Whitesnake, all the songs you've heard to death, I'm sick of it. I don't know how anybody listens to radio. And a lot of times, especially like that genre, or, classics, oldies, if you will, tribute stations, whatever you want to call them. Another thing that annoys me about these stations is they will announce the songs or the artist of the song. They're like, here's Steve Miller Band. Well, unless you've been in a coma for about 50 years, or, you're 12, like a 12-year-old's going to be listening to a classic rock station or radio, period. Everybody knows Jet Airliner is Steve Miller Band. And then if you're on one of these classic rock stations and you're going to play Downtown and you go, here's Petula Clark. We all know it. We all know it. Here's the Beatles. And they play Love Me Do. It drives me insane. Just put a little effort into your work, Try to look up something. I mean, most jocks have a computer right there that's connected to the internet. That's it. It's real easy to get up there and say, I wonder if there's some little trivia that I could talk about on the air that might entertain the listeners. Nah, it's too difficult. I'll just tell them who the name of the band is, and even though they already know it, I'm just here twisting knobs, turning buttons, pushing rails. That's all I need to do. Yeah. So to me, radio is quite unimaginative. I don't really get it. I don't know why anybody doesn't really put in a whole lot of more work to it. I used to put in some work into mine. They gave me a little leeway overnights on a station I used to work with. I had characters like Reef Goodwin. There was, I forgot his name. Killer Ledbetter, the world's most flamboyant boxer. And those characters got attention, I made it fun. I'd had them talk about something topical, and, they could entertain the people out there listening. Sometimes I would have guests on, like meteorologist Rachel Peterson that used to work for WFMY News 2. She was, quote-unquote, my on-air crush that I would talk about constantly. Well, she was a very gracious woman who came in and sat in with me most of the night, which means we voice tracked it. Yeah, I'm going to let you see behind the curtain what the wizard does, but yes, voice tracking means you record your show. You get like a printout of the log, what songs you're going to talk out of, talk into, that sort of thing. And there you go. We'd cut 6 hours worth of show in about, I think Rachel and I covered it in about 45 minutes. And she was very fun to work with. She called me every name that began with the letter E until we got to the last break of the morning. So she had a good time. She said she did. She remained my friend. So hopefully, she did have a good time. But I would do things like that. I would have weird phone calls, like my buddy Tim would call in as one of his little characters, and he'd sit in. But I always tried to take a creative approach to radio. And one of the best compliments, well, I think it's a compliment, but I used to work with this guy named Jeff McHugh. And fantastic guy, great guy. And when you did an air check with him, and an air check session is basically your boss kind of listening to a tape of your voice breaks on the air, listening to that sort of thing, and critique you. It's more or less having or being dissected while you're completely awake. Yes, and one person I used to work with would call it the McHugh 1-2. He'd hit you up with something nice about what you're doing, and then he'd hit you with something bad that you're doing. But he wrote a short article for R&R Magazine. It's a trade magazine for the radio business, and it was about me. And it is the biggest compliment I've ever gotten in radio, and I'm surprised I didn't go any further than I did, but anyway, it happens like it happens. It's called Hate for Radio. That was the headline. And again, it was written by Jeff McHugh. And it starts out, he says, John Belushi hated television. Hated it. Belushi thought television was so banal and stupid. NBC had to beg and plead for some time before Belushi finally transformed his disdain for TV into the genius of Saturday Night Live. I thought of this story last week in an air check meeting with Eugene, a part-time air talent on our rock station. A college radio defector, Eugene hates radio and thinks it's mostly crap. We let him break a few rules, and what do you know? The kid finds occasional moments of hilarious, blinding brilliance. And keep in mind, I did not pay him for this article. He goes on to write, as I encouraged Eugene, I found myself being inspired by him, remembering why I got into radio 22 years ago. Because I thought WANS-FM, the local CHR in my college town, was absolutely dreadful, and I thought I could do better. I hereby resolve in 2005 to revive my belief that mediocrity is harmful, that unoriginal, created by accountants programming sucks, and that poor music label releases should be sliced into symmetrical pieces by a samurai delicatessen sword and a scream of banzai. I only wonder who might get John Belushi on the air if he were alive today, terrestrial or satellite. So that's what Jeff McHugh kind of wrote about me, and that was very nice. He handed or emailed me a copy before it got printed. I never got a copy of the magazine that it was in, but I do have a copy of the magazine that it was in. So I thought that was high praise, and that's one of the things that I tried to do on the air. I tried to entertain, because that was the thing. I mean, I like to think I'm entertaining. I like to think I'm interesting. Of course, not everyone shares this view, and those that don't, hey, they could turn the knob on the radio, or if you're listening to this podcast, you don't find me interesting at all, well, hey, I'm not forcing you to listen, although I'd like you to. I do need some sort of validation to exist. But anyway, back to the radio stuff. So I finally took, since I kept getting in all these older trucks that I'm transferring, moving around the state of North Carolina, not all of them had the auxiliary inputs. And I didn't even think about this, but several people, like Trev Allen at WTOB told me, and then my own stepson told me, why don't you get a Bluetooth transmitter? I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think they existed. Now, I have had, what do you call those cassette inserts? Because in my truck, my 2001 Ford Ranger, I still have a cassette deck. And I don't know if you heard that, but the dog is howling in the background. on the other side of this game room. She probably wants in here. But anyway, I looked it up, and sure enough, these Bluetooth transmitters to the FM, they're out there. I'm used to the cassette deck in my truck, and I had a cassette insert that you put in there, and then you could plug it into your phone or whatever you're doing. And it used to be my MP3 player, long trips. Otherwise, I just use a CD, because I also have a CD player in there too. So I've got so many CDs, it would be unwise just to store them all the time and never listen to them, even though most of them are available on Spotify. But moving these trucks around, there's no CD player in those. So the FM transmitter, great idea. I picked one up off of Amazon. Damn thing was like $18. Great. Fantastic. Easy to use. Sure, I read through the instructions, but it wasn't anything that I wouldn't already know or figure out in no time at all. So now I'm listening to Spotify all the time in any truck whatsoever. Does not matter. And it really works good. So I can make it to Raleigh. No, really, Raleigh. I can make it there on just one frequency. I don't have to change. On the Charlotte run, I want the same frequency. Don't have to change. It's fantastic. Because sometimes, you move around the country, you've got one of those transmitters, you have to move it as you move around into different radio markets and, in the area of a local antenna. So you got to find a different frequency. But hey, it works out fantastic. I absolutely love it. And so I don't have to worry about listening to the radio ever again. Yeah. But I did find 2 radio stations. I will tell you this. I did find 2 radio stations that I enjoyed listening to. Once you got to around Hillsboro on I-40 or 85, I would tune in to 95.7, that station. I think it's thatstation.net online. They call their DJs curators. Yeah, like some museum. But lots of times they're playing new music. I mean, I've heard the Marcus King Band on there, and that surprised me. I'm hearing stuff that I never hear anywhere else. I'm hearing John Hyatt songs. I love that station when I'm driving through. It's interesting. And then on the way to Charlotte, I'd say on the north side of Lexington. Can't get it here in Clemens, but just around the Lexington area. Same frequency, 95.7. They call it The Ride. They use like a motorcycle sound effect, like a rev of the motorcycle or a start of the motorcycle, and then the cycle takes off. Personally, I think those liners and everything just kind of need to tighten up. They're a little loose. There's you hear that you hear the cycle go out into the distance, and then the guy comes in. The ride. I think they should tighten it up as the cycle's kind of like not even a quarter of the way into the distance. Then it should be the ride, and then it should go right into the song. But hey, I'm not programming that beast. No, not at all. But that's what I do. I tighten it up a little bit. Make it sound a little, well, I don't want to say better. Just tighten it up so you can get in a few more seconds of song. And they also down there, I forget what they call it, but they give you these little tidbits of information about certain artists and certain songs. And then they'll play that song. They'll tell you, they'll spend like a minute telling you a trivia about a song or an artist. I absolutely love it. So if you're down around the Charlotte area, check out The Ride. I forget their call letters, 95.7. If you're in the Raleigh area, check out that station, 95.7. You can probably find them and listen to them online, on TuneIn, something like that. And check them out. I mean, they're actually playing something different. Now, I will say this. Whenever I hear Bob Marley, I got to change station. I can't handle that stuff. No. I'm not a big fan of reggae music at all, and it usually immediately, like my buddy Jeff Kay, the West Virginia Surf Report podcast, he hears Pink Floyd, he checks out. I hear reggae, I'm out. In my opinion, reggae is like the laziest form of music. It just sounds lazy. It sounds like it's made by spaced out potheads. No offense to any spaced out potheads out there. I just don't want to listen to someone's inebriation. You know what I mean? I want to hear something, I don't know. It just doesn't interest me. It just doesn't sound like there's a whole lot of moving parts. And by God, I need moving parts when it comes to my music for my enjoyment. So, there you go. That's how I feel about radio. I'd like to do a little something more. I'd like to bring back the Nonconformist Cult the Nonconformist Cult radio show. It was a show I used to have on WQFS, the college radio station that Jeff McHugh wrote about. Me being a college radio defector. Heck, I still worked there at that station and the college station at the same time. They weren't threatened because they were a nonprofit and they didn't get any ratings, so they didn't care. I'm going to take another swig of water. That natural spring water tastes so good. But anyway, I'd like to bring the Nonconformist Cult radio show, if I can say it, back to the airwaves. I've talked to some people about getting it back on, and then there's one person that actually wants me to do it live. I don't want to do it live. Especially on a weekend evening, a Saturday night, when, especially when pool season is open here at the Big House. People coming out, hanging out, having a few adult beverages, listening to the Big House Mix on Spotify. By the way, give me a follow on Spotify. Just Eugene B. Sims. I'm real easy to find. You can check out any of my playlists because I go to great lengths to do those. As a matter of fact, I'll have to make that a podcast at some point. Might find that interesting, but I just don't, I don't have the gumption to be in a radio studio on a Saturday night while my family and friends are having fun and, getting pie-eyed. So, yeah, I just wanted to produce it like I am like right now, just put it together, do it, and play that on the station, and then they talked about syndicating it. I would like to have it syndicated as well. I have some ideas about that, but, we'll save that until it actually, if it does take fruition. But, yeah, I just can't see doing it live. But anyway, thank you for listening to the Wheeler's Dog podcast. This is the 3rd episode. And I'm, again, really surprised at the outpouring of love for the Facebook page and people listening to the ones on YouTube. Soon to be available. I just obscured the domain to where we're going to park all this stuff. And Tim's telling me about different drivers, I don't know, different things, servers, where things have got to go in order to go to Spotify, all that stuff. So he knows all that. I do not. I'm an ignorant, naked baby in the woods when it comes to this sort of thing. So thankfully, I've got the Podfather helping me out, getting this up and going. So right now, I'm just taking it as I can on where I can. So thank you for checking it out. And again, this is part of the first 5 episodes that are going to be available to everyone. And then after that, there'll be 2 podcasts a week. If you haven't noticed, there's kind of been like 2 podcasts in 7 days for this already. So I'm doing very well keeping up with it. But the thing is, with patreon.com/WheelersDog, you can go there and show me a little love by donating $4 a month to unlock the bonus episode. See, that's it. There's going to be 1 podcast a week that everybody will be able to hear. Then the second one is going to be for Patreons only. Yeah, Patreons only at patreon.com, which they have an app. And if you subscribe for $4 or more, you get to unlock all the audio and it will be right there. You get the app on your phone, boom, that's the only place you got to go for all of them. And, what's $4? Maybe you don't get that 6-inch sub at Subway 1 week out of the month to pay for the great episodes, the bonus episodes. Well, calling them great this early in the game is a little, I can't think of the word for it, but it's a little braggy. So, yeah, you get a bonus episode every week. But you could go onto the Behind the Bark VIP level for just $8 a month. Not only do you get to unlock all the audio, you also get like little perks that I will send out occasionally to all the VIPs. Maybe it's a sticker. Who knows? I've even toyed with the idea of doing coasters. I've toyed with all kinds of ideas. And who knows? I might find some weird little knick-knack somewhere that's just bizarre and may just buy enough to send out to my VIPs. So again, thank you for listening, and I do appreciate it. And don't forget, I've got the Wheeler's Dog Speak line. Yeah, you can call in, leave a message, and hey, I'll make you part of the podcast. Here's one of the messages I've gotten.
Hey, it's Michelle. I'm listening to episode 1 of your podcast, The Wheeler's Dog. I'm so happy it's on YouTube so that I can pause it and restart it and not lose my place. That's awesome. So, good job on episode 1. Actually, I just thought I would dial the number so that I would have it on my phone in case I needed to call again and comment on something. Now, back to YouTube so that I can finish the last 8 minutes of your podcast on my way home. Good job, Eugene.
And the number for the Wheeler's Dog Speak line, 336-422-6006. The Wheeler's Dog Speak line. Get it? Get it? Yeah. So give that a call, leave a message, any questions, anything like that, any praise, I will accept it. Thank you, Michelle. And until next time, we'll talk at you later. Because the radio gets on my nerves.